Om Shri Padmatmane Namaham. Devotees, Namaste and Jai Sita Ram. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to our Sunday morning satsang this beautiful November 22nd, 2020. At this time, before we commence with our prayers for this morning, I ask that you all join together with me as we chant this beautiful bhajan. I know what you say, O Bhagwan. Today we are blinded by the darkness of ignorance. O Lord, grant us with the light of wisdom so that we can follow the correct path of life. As we join together. Ajan heri mehe hamay insan Gyan ka suraj chamka de Bhagwan आज अंधेरे में है हमारे इंसान ज्ञान का सूरज चमका दे भगवान राह दिखारे भगवान राह दिखारे भक्त करे हमारा दिखारे भगवान राह दिखारे खरम खरम पर किरण बिचारे भगवान किरण बिचारे इन अखियन को प्रभु करारे इन अखियन को प्रभु करारे ज्योति से पहचान ज्योति से पहचान आज अंधेर में है हम इंसान ज्ञान का सूरज चमका दे भगवान हम तो संतान तिहारे प्रभु संतान तिहारे हम तो संतान तिहारे प्रभु संतान तिहारे तेरे दया के हम अधिकारे प्रभु है हम अधिकारे दुनिया होए सुखी हमारी दुनिया सुखी हमारी सारे वरना हे सारे वरना आज में है हम इंसान ज्ञान का सूरज चमका दे भगवान आज अंधेरे में है हम इंसान ज्ञान का सूरज चमका दे भगवान At this time, devotees, may we all join together, clasp our hands and close our eyes. Focus our minds on the feet of Bhagwan as we begin with our opening praise for this morning. Om Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamrachiti Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Nishavasyam Niram Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat Tina Tina Bhunjita Magrudha Khasya Swidhanam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanam Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvashavahe. Hari Om Shanti, 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 Hari Om. May we all join together now, devotees, as we commence in chanting the most powerful Gayatri Mantra. Om Magakshe Varane Devi Aksharim Brahmavadini Gayatri Jagat Madhar Vishwayoni Namostute. Om Bhore Bhuvaya Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Om Bhore Bhuvaya Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Om Bhore Bhuvaya Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Hari Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Prem Samura Gayatri Mata Ki Jai. As we continue on with our prayers for today, devotees, we offer our prayers and obediences to that destroyer and removal of all obstacles in our life. We offer prayers to Lord Ganesh. Om Shri Ganganapataye Namaha. Om Jananam Bhutanganadhi Sevitam Kapita Jambu Palachara Bhaksharam Om Asutam Shokka Vinashakarakam Namami Viganeshwara Pada Pankajam. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirviganam Kurme Deva Sarvakarishu Sarvada. Om Raksha Raksha Ganadhaksha Rakshatre Rokya Rakshakar Bhaktanam Bhayam Karta Trata Bhava Bhavaranavar. Om Shriman Mahaganadhipate Namah Prem Samura Ganesh Bhagwane Ki Jai. As we continue with our prayers for today, devotees, we offer prayers to that Universal Mother and that destroyer of all evils in our life. We offer prayers to Adi Shakti, Durga Mata. Om Mahadurgaye Namaham. Om Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhandra Kali Kapalini Durga Kshama Shiva Dhatri Swaha Swadha Namostute. Jai Tvam Devi Chamunde Jai Putharate Niharini Jai Sarvagate Devi Kaliratri Namostute. Adevi Sarvam Bhuteshu Vishnu Mai Dishamnitha. Namastasye 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 Namo Namaya Devi Sarvam Bhuteshu Buddhi Rupena Samstita. Namastasye 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 Namo Namaya Devi Sarvam Bhuteshu Lakshmi Rupena Samstita. Namastasye 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 Namo Namaya Devi Sarvam Bhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samstita. Namastasye 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 Namo Namaya Devi Sarvam Bhuteshu Shraddha Rupena Samstita. Namastasye 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 Namo Namaya Devi Sarvam Bhuteshu Shanti Rupena Samstita. Namastasye 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 Namo Namaya Devi Sarvam Bhuteshu Tushti Rupena Samstita. Namastasye 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 Namo Ya Devi Sarvam Bhuteshu Dayarupena samstita. Namastasye, namastasye, namastasye namo namaya Devi sarvabhuteshu Matre rupena samstita. Namastasye, namastasye, namastasye namo nama Dehi saubhagyam arogyam Dehi me paramam sukham Rupam Dehi jayam Dehi Yesho Dehi Om Prem Shiva Shakti Durga Mata Ki Jai. As we continue on with our pujas and prayers for today, devotees, we offer obediences to the most influential beings in our life. We offer prayers to the Navgraha Devata. Om Navgraha Devataya Namaha. Bharamha Munaris Tripurari Bhanu Shashi Bhumi Suto Bodhascha Guruscha Shukra Shanirahu Ketava Sarve Graha Shanti Karabhavantu Sarve Graha Shanti Karabhavantu. As we continue with these prayers for the Navgraha Devata, as today is Sunday, we offer prayers to the God who is the Sun. We offer prayers to Surya Narayan Bhagwan. Om Suryaya Namah 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 Adideva Namastobhyam Bhrasinha Mama Bhashkaram Devakarya Namastobhyam Prabhakarya Namostutye Suryaya Namah Suryaya Namah Suryaya Namah Suryaya Namah. Om Prem Shiva Navgraha Devata Ki Jai. Prem Shiva Surya Narayan Bhagavan Ki Jai. Devotees, may we all join together now as we offer prayers to that sustainer of all things dharmic, all things righteous in this universe, as we offer prayers to Lord Vishnu. Om Shri Vishnu Namaha. Om Shantakaram Bhujavishayanam Bhadamanabham Suresham Vishwadharam Gagana Sadrasham Meghavararam Shubhagam Om Lakshmi Kantam Kamalnayanam Yogi Bhera Dhyana Gamyam Vande Vishnu Bhavabhayaharam Sarvaloke Kanatam Om Sashankha Chakram Sakiretha Kundalam Sapita Vastram Sarasiruhekshanam Sahara Vakshastala Shobhikostu Bhaishriyam Namami Vishnu Shirasa Chaturabhujam Namami Vishnu Shirasa Chaturabhujam. Om Prem Shiva Vishnu Bhagwan Ki Jai. And finally, devotees, we offer prayers to that universal Father and that universal Guru. We offer prayers to that destroyer of all evils in our life and in this universe. We join together as we offer prayers to Lord Shiva. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Harpurang Haurang Harunavadharam Samsara Saram Bhujagendraharam Sada Santam Hridayardhavane Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami Om Namah Shivaya. Shivaya. May we all join together as we chant the name of Lord Shiva. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Devotees, we offer this next prayer for all those suffering from various illnesses, diseases, injuries, and ailments. We ask for them to have a fast, speedy, and full recovery. We also offer a prayer for those transitioning from this world to the next. May their passage be a smooth and tranquil one. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushnivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhana Mrityurmukshyo Mamruta. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushnivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityurmukshyo Mamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushnivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityurmukshyo Mamrutat. Om Gangarapataye Namaha. Om Kartikeya Namaha. Om Nandishwaraya Namaha. Om Vasukiye Namaha. Om Shri Sam Sada Shivaya Namaha. Prem Bolo Shiva Shankara Bhagwan ki jai. At this time, devotees, before we continue on with our sermon for today, we will have one bhajan. Shiva Hare Shiva Rama Sakhi Prabhu Dhanvardhapanavaran He Vibhu Ajjaneshwara Yadav Pahi Mam Shiva Hare Vijayam Kuru Me Varam Kamalalochana Rama Dayani Ar Guru Gajaraksha Gopati Shivatano Mahavashankar Bhai Mam Shiva Hare Vijayam Guru Mevaram Swanaranjana Mangala Mandiram Majati Te Purusha Paramam Param Bhavati Tasya Sukam Paramaram Bhutam Shiva Hare Vijayam Guru Mevaram Jaya Yudhishthira Vala Bhupati Jaya Jaya Arjita Punya Payoni Jaya Kripamaya Krishna Namostute Shiva Hare Vijayam Guru Mevaram Bhava Vimochana Madhava Mapati Sukha Vimanasa Hansa Shivarati Janaka Jarata Raghava Rakshamam Shiva Hare Vijayam Guru Mevaram Avani Mandala Mangala Mapati Jaladha Sundhara Rama Ramapati Nighama Kirti Gunara Navagopati Shiva Hare Vijayam Guru Mevaram पतित पावन नाम मैलत तव यशो विमलं प्रियगीयते तदपि माधवमं किमुपक्ष्यते शिव हरे विजयं कुरु मे वरम् अमरतापरदेव रामपते विजयतस्तव नाम अनुपमा मयि कृतं करुणारनवजायते शिव हरे विजयं कुरु मे वरम् हनुमतं प्रियतापकरं प्रभु सुरसद्भृतशेखर हे गुरु मनविभावकं स्मरणं कृतं शिव हरे विजयं कुरु मे वरम् नरहरेरतिरञ्जनसुन्दरं पतत्या शिवरामवधस्तवम् विशति राम रमच्छरन्नम्भुजे शिव हरे विजयं कुरु मे वरम् शिव हरे विजयं कुरु मे वरम् शिव हरे विजयं कुरु मे वरम्. Before we commence with our sermon for today, devotees, I ask that we all, for those of us who have a guru, join together and offer a prayer to our guru. If not, I ask that you take Adi Shakti Durga Mata, or Lord Shiva in your mind as your universal guru, as we join together and chant and pray. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Prem se Guru Gurudev ki jai. Devotees, last week when we had finished our reading from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, we were in chapter 8, in which Bhagwan Shri Krishna is telling Arjuna in verses 17 and 18 and 19. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, 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 Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyada Brahmano Vidhu Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Te Auratra Vidho Jana Ayatadgataya Sarvam Brahmavantya Harangame Ratyagame Praliyante Tatreva Vyakta Samjnati Bhutangrama Sahevayam Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate Ratyagame Vasapartha Brahmavyat Aharagame Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. At this point in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Shri Krishna says to Arjuna, those who know the truth about Brahma's day and night understand that his day lasts for 1,000 cycles of the 4 yugas, and that his night is also of the same duration. All jivas manifest from the unmanifest cause at the beginning of Brahma's day and become merged into the same unmanifest cause upon the arrival of his night. O Partha, that very host of the jivas, both moving and non-moving, who come into being at the approach of Brahma's day, are again helplessly dissolved on the arrival of his night. They repeatedly manifest at the approach of Brahma's day under the strict laws of karma. So, as we talked about last week, devotees, this is poetry. This is poetry, essentially, what Bhagavan Shri Krishna is telling Arjuna. He is not talking about a physical day, and he's not talking about a physical night in this aspect, in this instance. Because you know what day and night is. Most of us, I'm not saying all of us, actually I shouldn't even say most of us, some of us work in the day. Some of us work in the night. There's a period and a point in time in which we're awake, and there's a period and a point in time in which we're asleep. In this instance, when he refers to Brahma's day is the time in which we are alive, the time in which we exist, and the time in which we perform our duties on this material world. Brahma's night is that point in time in which we're not. It's not when we're asleep. It's that point in time in which our body leaves, or our soul leaves this physical world. We return back to the unmanifest. So for some of us, that may be in the period in which our soul is in limbo before it reincarnates back onto this world. For others, it could just be that your soul is liberated. That would be your full Brahma's night. You've achieved salvation. Now the question here is, when do you achieve the most? Is it during the time when you're awake or the time when you're asleep? Well, unless you're working in automated intelligence or coding and you have information that you can run overnight that populates terabytes and terabytes of information, most often than not, you're doing most of your work in the daytime. You're doing everything that you need to in the day. So for those who understand the truth, we know that we live in the day and that we cease to exist in the night. We repeatedly manifest the approach of Brahma's day under the strict laws of karma. So every time our body reincarnates into this world, every time we re-manifest into this physical form, we do that under the strict law of karma, the strict law of action. Our actions in the day before determine what's going to happen to us in the day following. Take a look at that example when we're looking at our own selves day to day. If you choose not to do that house project that you've been holding off on today, how is it going to make you feel tomorrow? Chances are more stressed out. We call that procrastination in life. So whatever we do today or whatever we don't do today will affect us tomorrow. So what he's saying here is that no matter what, even if you merge into that nighttime, when you come back into the day, that day is going to be affected by the karma, the actions that you performed in the day following. Bhagavan Shri Krishna has mentioned plenty of times in which our actions, the things that we do, the way we perform them, how we perform them, affect the following day. So, as you go on about your life, whether it's from the day-to-day basis, if you look at that literally, Brahma's day, or if you look at it from the basis and the larger standpoint of lifetime to lifetime, ask yourself, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel during your next Brahma day? Do you want to feel good? Do you want to be struggling? What is it that you hope to achieve? Everything that we do from day to day is affected by the laws of karma, the actions that we take in that day. Bhagavan Shri Krishna goes on to tell Arjuna a little bit more about the unmanifest state. That unmanifest state that we had just mentioned a little earlier. Bhagavan Shri Krishna tells Arjuna, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Parastasmadhu Bhavonyo, Vyakto Vyaktat Sanatana, Yasa Survesu Bhutesu, Nasyatsu Na Vinasyati. Purushas tam ahum paramam gati yam prapyanani vardante dhardhama paramam mama purushasa paraparta bhaktya labhyasvananyaya yasyan hastani bhutani yena sarvam nidam datam yatra kale tvanavrittim aruttim chaiva yogina prahyatayaditam kalam vyaksyami bharatar sabha Shri Krishna sharanam mama Shri Krishna sharanam mama Shri Krishna sharanam mama Shri Krishna sharanam mama. Remember at the very beginning of this chapter, we talked about things like the pure self, the pure God, everything that exists around us. And as we get closer to the end of the chapter, Bhagavan Shri Krishna is telling us more about the days that we live and the nights that we reside in. He goes on to say about that unmanifest state in which we merge from and merge back into, or we emerge from and merge back into. The superior to that unmanifest state, there exists another unmanifest nature. And a nature, we call that an aksaram, your imperishable nature, which is eternal and wonderful and which is not destroyed, even at the time of the great dissolution, when all of this world is annihilated. That eternal, unmanifest nature is known as aksara, and it's the supreme destination. Having attained that Dhamma, they never return to this world. It is my eternal abode and my eternal nature. So as we live in our days, devotees, as we go on about our days, we all have a goal that we are trying to achieve. Even by the end of our life, we have a goal that we're trying to achieve. What Bhagavan Shri Krishna is saying here is that our ultimate goal, something that we need to recognize and realize over time, is called aksara, that supreme destination. That supreme destination is his eternal abode. We talk about this physical world, the world that we live in, being a world that is filled with misery. And why is it filled with misery? Because of the attachments we have to the physical objects around us. Physical objects around us cause and create frustrations. The biggest thing for me that I see causes frustration to everybody in this world is that tiny little device that you hold in your hands. We call it a cell phone. Because that cell phone gives us access to the world. It gives us access to all sorts of information. There's a really good documentary out there on Netflix. What's the name of the documentary, Serena? Do you remember? The social... Is it The Social Dilemma? I think it's called The Social Dilemma. But it talks about the interactions of humans into the world of social networking. It talks about, especially from the younger generations, how their minds are influenced and molded and shaped and affected by the things that we see online. So, one of the ultimate causes of distraction and distress in this world can be what comes from our phone, that information that we see. It talks to us about standards about how we need to live our life, standards about how we need to uphold ourselves, standards about fashion and beauty. So many standards in which we think we have to uphold, but those aren't our true goals. I always get yelled at all the time because my kurtas tend to have holes in them, whether it be in the arms or on the back or on the side. And that's something I should care about. That is something that I need to pay attention to. But I know at the end of the day, my true imperishable goal is to attain moksha. It was to attain that eternal salvation. So those physical things cause distress. Oh, Parata, I am that supreme person in whom all beings are situated and by whom, as Antaryami, this whole world is pervaded. I am attained only by Ananya Bhakti. O best of the Bharatas, I shall now explain the different paths protected by the presiding deities of time, by which yogis who pass away from this world neither come back again or do not return. So this whole world is pervaded by me. I am Antaryami. And you can only attain me by Ananya Bhakti, which is true devotion, unwavering devotion, steadfast devotion. I will now explain to you, he says, the different paths protected by the presiding devatas. Those yogis who pass away from this world, who understand this, will remain with me in my abode. He goes on to say further in chapter 8. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Agnir Jyotir Ahasutala Sanmasa Uttarayanam Tatra Prahyata Hachanti Brahma Brahma Vidhojana Dhumaratristata Krishna Sanmasadhaksinayanam Tatra Charam Samjyotir Yogi Prapya Nivartate Sukha Krasne Gati Yati Jagata Saswate Mate Ekaya Jana Vritim Anyaya Vartate Puna Natite Stri Padhajanan Yogi Muyati Kaschana Tasmat Sarvesu Palesu Yogha Yukto Bhavarjuna Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Bhagwan Shri Krishna goes on to say a little bit more. We talked about Brahma's day and Brahma's night. But he also goes on to tell us things about this physical world that we need to know and understand. He says, those who know Brahmanand, who depart from this world during the influence of the presiding devas of fire, the light, auspicious days, the fortnight of the waxing moon, and the 6 months of the sun's northern course, those attain Brahma. The Karma Yogi, who departs by the path of the devas, who preside over the times of smoke, the night, Krishna Paksh, which is the dark half of the moon, Shukla Paksh is the bright half. The 6 months of the sun's southern course attains Swarga. After enjoying celestial pleasure, he there again retains to this material world. In departing from this world, only two paths, Shukla and Krishna, are considered to be the eternal. Passing through Shukla Paksh, the bright path, one attains moksha, and by passing through Krishna Paksh, the dark path, the one returns to this world. So he's saying it very plainly and simply. If you die in a good time, you attain moksha. And if you die in a bad time, you don't attain moksha. You get to achieve celestial pleasures. You get to reside in heaven for just a little bit, whatever we deem as heaven, and then you come back to this world. So it's easy, right? If I want to attain moksha, what Bhagwan Shri Krishna is saying here is that I have to die in a good time. That's easy. Easy to know, right? If I die in a good time, I'm going to attain moksha. It's not that easy. We don't know at what point in time we are going to leave this world. So even though it seems like it's plain and simple in verses 24, 25, and 26, he wants you to understand this in verse 27. O Parata, the Bhakti yogis who have perfect knowledge of these two paths are never bewildered. Therefore, O Arjuna, be always fixed in yoga. So you'll hear it all the time. Oh, this person passed away in a bad period, so they're going to reincarnate. They'll hear that. Oh, this person passed away in a good period, they're going to attain moksha. There's so many factors that we have to consider about what salvation is and what we achieve when we leave this world. If a person has committed sin, debauchery, if they've been nothing but a bad person their entire lives and they die in a good period, will they attain moksha? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Everything that we read in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita is pieces to a whole, devotees. Bhagwan Shri Krishna is not just giving us an answer. He's not just telling us, if you do this one thing, you'll attain moksha. He's giving you all the components you need, to be successful. An equivalent is that if I were to give you some wood, some nails, and a hammer, that's all I gave you, would you be able to build a chair? Those are the main components. You use the nails, hammer them into the wood. You structure the wood. However, when you're building a chair, there's more components to that. The shape of the chair, how long that wood is cut, what kind of wood you're using. Everything that we utilize in this world, it's all components. Everything that we utilize in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita will help us attain moksha. So don't assume that if you die in a bad period, you're just going to be reborn into this world. Because the Bhakti Yoga, the one who has perfect knowledge of these two paths, are never bewildered. The last time I talked about this with my family, I said, you have two paths in life. Let's say you're trying to get to the city of Ayodhya, the birthplace of Lord Rama. One path is filled with flowers and sunshine, filled with butterflies. I don't know, some people hate butterflies, but it is what it is. The other path is filled with darkness. It's covered in debris. You can see wild animals running about. Which path do you take to get to Ayodhya? Which path do you take? Sunshine and butterflies. Some will say sunshine and butterflies. Some will say that path with the wild animals. The correct answer, devotees, at least in my opinion, is that you take the path that you're most prepared for. You take the path that you are most prepared for. For those who have severe allergies, maybe the sunshine, flowers, and butterflies isn't a good thing, because it's going to trigger your allergies and make you sneeze. For those who are afraid of wild animals, who can't approach animals, maybe the other path is good for you. You take the path that you're most prepared for, because what's going to happen at the end of the day? What's going to happen? If both places lead to the same area, you will achieve your final destination. So whether you pass away in the day, whether you pass away in the night, whether you pass away in a good time or a bad time, understand that all of the components that we have in this world affect where we go at the end of it. And for those who are truly knowledgeable of these two paths, you are never bewildered because you are prepared. You know how to traverse those paths and get to your final destination. That is what Bhagavan Shri Krishna wants to tell Arjuna. He ends chapter 8, devotees, by looking at Arjuna and saying this in verse 28 of chapter 8 of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, 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 Vedesu yajnesu tapasu cheva danesu yat punya phalam prajistam atyente tat sarvam idam viditva yogi param stanam upati chadiyam. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Bhagavan Shri Krishna tells Arjuna, a bhakti yogi surpasses all the results of studying the Vedas and of performing yajna, tapasya, dana, karma, and so on, acquiring knowledge which I spoken to you. He attains to supreme transcendental abode. The only way we can achieve something, devotees, the only way we can attain something, the only way we can get something done successfully is if we take the time to learn about it and put that knowledge to make that outcome a success. To make that outcome a success. So for us living in the 21st century, what do we do if we want to learn something new? Whether it be a cooking skill, or whether it be a construction project or an art project, where do we go? Where do we go to find that information nowadays? I'll give you one of two words: YouTube or Google. Google it. Ask Google. Google will tell you. By doing that, even though it's a little gimmicky to say YouTube and Google, we're going somewhere to attain the knowledge. Again, right now, let's say that I wanted to build a chair, a pirha. I'm looking at one right now. And Tim Dabbit and Indira Didi built this beautiful pirha during grandma's funeral time for my mama to sit on, for my brother's mama to sit on. I'm looking at the pirha right now and I see the basic structure of it, But if I try to go recreate that pirha right now, I can tell you right now, it'll be a total failure. I shouldn't say total failure. It won't be as good. It definitely won't be as good because I don't necessarily have the same knowledge they do in terms of what wood they used, what materials they used, how they held the pieces together, how they cut the pieces with their saw, what kind of saws they used. Did they use a miter saw? Did they use a hand saw? Did they use a chop saw, chainsaw? I don't know. So I don't know all of that information. But if I had that knowledge in my head, if I was a master craftsman and I had that knowledge in my head, I'd be able to attain and get anything done that I needed to. So here, to attain that transcendental abode, to attain moksha, if you have the knowledge as to how to do it, you will attain it. That's what he's saying. Because this entire time, all Bhagwan Shri Krishna has been doing is providing Arjuna, as well as all of us, the information as to what we need to do to attain moksha. But it's not easy. When you go on a venture, when you try to do something new, when you try to achieve something, if you don't encounter some trials and tribulations along the way, you probably won't learn as much as if you just made it and got it done easily. We learn the most from our mistakes. As we move on to chapter 9, Bhagwan Shri Krishna tells Arjuna a little further. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Bhagavan Uvach Idam Krute Guyatamam Prakvaksyamyanusuyave Jnanam Vichnanasa Tamyaj Jnatva Muksyasya Suman Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Bhagwan Shri Krishna tells Arjuna, O Arjuna, because you are not envious, I will impart to you this most confidential knowledge, which is endowed with the characteristics of Sudha Bhakti. He tells Bhagwan Shri Krishna, or Bhagwan Shri Krishna tells Arjuna, that this most confidential knowledge, and now for me saying, is something that we will talk about next Sunday during our regular Sunday morning satsang. Prem se Bolo Krishna Chandra Bhagwan ki Jai. Devotees, at this time, we'll have one more bhajan before we move into our closing prayers and our final announcements for today. सबसे ऊंची प्रेम सजाए सबसे ऊंची प्रेम सजाए सबसे ऊंची प्रेम सजाए सबसे ऊंची प्रेम सजाए दुर्योधन को मेवा त्यागूं दुर्योधन को मेवा त्यागूं साग विधुर घर खाए सबसे ऊंची प्रेम सजाए सबसे ऊंची प्रेम सजाए जूते पन शबरी के खाए जूते फल शबरी के खाए बहुविधि प्रेम लगाए सबसे ऊंची प्रेम सजाए सबसे ऊंची प्रेम Sajai. प्रेम की भाषा अर्जुन रतहा क्यों, प्रेम की भाषा अर्जुन रतहा क्यों, भूल गई चतुराई सबसे ऊंची, प्रेम सजाए सबसे ऊंची, प्रेम सजाए। ऐसे प्रेम भरी वृंदावन, ऐसे प्रेम भरी वृंदावन, गोपिन नाच नचाए सबसे ऊंची, प्रेम सजाए सबसे ऊंची, प्रेम सजाए। सूर दूर इस लायक नाहिन, सूर दूर इस लायक नाहिन, कहल गरन भराए सबसे ऊंची, प्रेम सजाए 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 सबसे ऊंची, प्रेम सजाए। At this time, devotees, I ask that we all join together, clasp our hands and close our eyes. We focus our minds on the feet of Bhagwan as we offer and chant these closing prayers. Om Sarvesham Swasti Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shanti Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purunam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Om Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ मन्त्रहीनं क्रियाहीनं भक्तिहीनं जनार्दनं, यत्पूजितं मया देव परिपूर्णं धरस्तु मे। पापोऽहं पापकर्माहं पापो आत्मा पापो सम्भवा, त्राहि मम पुण्डरीकाक्षं सर्वपापो हरो हरि। ओम त्वमेव माताश्च पिता त्वमेव, त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव, त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव, त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव। ओम असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्युं मा मृतं गमय। हरि ओम शांति 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 हरि ओम। ओम गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरा, गुरुर् साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म, तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः, तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। ओम ध्यान शांतिरन्तरिक्ष ओम शांतिर, पृथ्वी शांतिरापा शांतिर, औषधे शांतिर, वनस्पति शांतिर, विश्वदेव शांतिर, ब्रह्मा शांतिर, सर्वे ओम शांतिर शांतिरेव शांति सामा शांतिरेधि। हरि ओम शांति 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 हरि ओम तत्सत। ओम प्रेम से बोलो गणेश भगवान की जय, प्रेम से बोलो आदि शक्ति दुर्गा माता की जय, प्रेम से बोलो विष्णु भगवान की जय, प्रेम से बोलो शिव शंकर भगवान की जय, प्रेम से बोलो शिव शक्ति मंदिर की जय, प्रेम से बोलो सनातन धर्म की जय। Devotees, with this, we have come to the end of our virtual Sunday morning satsang, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here and joining in with us with our virtual Sunday morning satsang, either for those of you who are live or those of you who are tuning in later on in time. Just as a quick announcement and a few quick announcements, we want to give a quick shout out to Uncle Deodat. This is Auntie Zandra's brother from I'm gonna say this wrong, Mississauga, Canada. All the way from Canada. He likes watching the services. He's never really, I think for us, since this is first, had an opportunity to see so many virtual services. So to Uncle Deodat, we want to thank you for your time tuning in, for being here with us, for worshiping with us, and for being so attentive and supporting everything that we do with the stream. Other announcements that we want to make, devotees, is in relation to anyone out there who's in need or knows families needing of assistance during this rough time. I know that in the current state that we live in, it's very hard for maybe some of us to get groceries, get assistance, get supplies. Some of us may need somebody to talk to additionally. Maybe there's something that's going on in our lives in which we need to relieve that stress. You're more than welcome to reach out to anybody on the executive board. You can reach out to my father. You're more than welcome to reach out to me as well. Our phone numbers are all on the Mandir calendar if you have those. And so for anybody who needs assistance out there, please do reach out to us and let us know. As we approach this next coming holiday season, devotees, which is Thanksgiving, which is a few days from now, I do want to mention to everybody how thankful we all are as a family for the support that we have gotten over the past month after our grandmother's passing, but for the continued support that you all provide to the Mandir, to this virtual service, and to everything we do. Without your assistance, without everything that you provided, everything that we have here today, everything that we continue to do today would not be a reality. So I'm glad that even though we're not together in a room and that we don't actually get to see each other, we still have that opportunity to connect, to pray, to worship, and to understand the stories, the scriptures, and the teachings of Bhagwan Shri Krishna, as well as Bhagwan in general. So I want to end by saying that I am thankful. I am thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for my beautiful wife that I have here who continuously helps me get these virtual services together and gets everything else together as well. I'm thankful for my brother, my sister, my mother and my father, my brother-in-law, and my to-be sister-in-law for everything that they continue to do and support. And I'm also very thankful for my in-laws, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, my grandparents-in-law, and my sister-in-law, because without everybody in my life, everything that I do today would be meaningless and it would not be done as well as it is. So thank you to everybody. We hope that you all have a safe, wonderful, and happy week, devotees. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Please be safe out there. Don't go out into big public gatherings. Please try not to cross-contaminate or spread any more of this terrible COVID that we have, but enjoy the time that you have off. Be thankful for the things that we have, and we will see you again next Sunday, which will be the 29th for our regular Sunday morning satsang. Jai Sita Ram, devotees.